Hello. In this video, we're going to continue stage 4. I'll call this stage 4 part B. And so far in this, what we've done is we've taken that information from our JSON file and we've managed to pull out the numerical value, which is the number of people infected with HIV in these 3 countries. And we basically used the number of pixels to represent the number of people. And that presented a bit of a challenge in that, if we have 120,000 people, that requires 120,000 pixels, which goes way past your screen size. So what we're going to do in this video is we're actually going to scale all these. So we're going to figure out which is the largest value, and we're going to use the entire screen real estate, or the width of the screen, and set that as the largest one, and then scale the other countries proportionally to that. And that's really just some good old-fashioned math. So, if you watched my last video, you'll notice I made a naming convention here. I called this 4A. I forgot the JSON, so I fixed that. Let's get rid of you. Don't save. Okay, so let's go into activity 2. We're going to make a new file, and we're going to call this stage 4 bjson.html. And I'm going to take all of stage 4A, copy that, and I'm going to paste it in here and save this. Let's close that. Let's open up 4B. Oh, and I'm just going to change the title up there. So we're going to come up here, make that 4B. And there we go. Okay, so to do this, we're going to have to do a couple things. The first thing I'm going to want to do is I want to figure out what the width of the actual inner window is. So remember, with JavaScript, we can access the window object, and the window object is everything inside this tab. And it has a specific property called inner width, which will give us the width of the actual display area. So just to pull up a new tab here for a second, actually let's not do that. Let's just do it here. So if I do this, let's just clear this for a second. If I type in window and hit enter, this gives me all the information about the window that is displayed. And this is a great way to get information about, the size, the whole bunch of things. And there happens to be a property here called inner width. So I'm going to clear that. It's very similar to the document. If I type in document, I get the HTML code that represents this document, right? So if I come into my 4B here, what I'm going to do I'm going to do this before I do anything, is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to make a variable called IW, which is inner window, or inner width, and I'm going to take the window object and I'm going to get the inner width. And if I console.log IW and I refresh this, there's the inner width. So notice now if I change the width of this window and I hit enter, that number changes. But what I don't want to do is I don't want my bar to go all the way to the very edge of the window. I want a little white space on the right hand side. So I'm going to take my inner width and I'm actually going to subtract 100 from it. And there we go. So now, what I need to do is a little math. And I'm going to use the math library. So this is the standard math library inside JavaScript. And this has all the math functions that you could possibly want. It's really good to familiarize yourself with this standard library. A library is just a collection of functions that allows the user or the programmer not to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. It's really good to familiarize yourself with standard libraries whenever you kind of start a new programming language. So, bit of a pause there. What we're going to do is, the first thing we have to do is we have to figure out the largest of our 3 values. And to do that, we're going to use the max function. So the max function it's an overloaded function, so I can pass it individual values, I can pass it a list of values, and generally speaking, it just returns the largest of those values. So if I come back into my code here, I have to do this after I have val1, val2, and val3. So I'm going to actually do the mathematics in between the calculation and the actual rendering. So what I'll do here is I'm going to say math, because that's the math module that holds it. And I'm going to say max, and I'm going to say val1, val2, val3. Now I haven't done anything with this, so I'm going to store it in a variable called largest, and then I'm going to console.log largest. So if I save this, and run this, and maybe what I'll do is, just to help with rendering here, I'm going to pause this and take all my other comments out. So I've removed all of the console.logs to clean things up. So all we see is the internal width now and the largest. And right there, so I've calculated the maximum value of the 3, and then I've logged that to the screen. But I don't need to log it. And in fact, let's clear up all our logging. Clear that up as well. Okay. So now that I have the largest, I need to actually use this I basically set up a ratio to solve this. And this is pure math. Don't be intimidated by it. People talk about how scary math is. It's not. Just take your time and kind of take some time to understand it and work with it. It's not that bad. So essentially, if I take the actual screen length, or the screen length that I want, divided by the inner window. So this is essentially the screen length that I want the bar to represent. Over the inner window, that ratio should be the same as the value that I've calculated, the population with HIV, divided by the largest value. So I want to calculate the actual screen length, that is the number of pixels I want to generate my div to. So I do some math. So I just multiply both sides by the inner window width. So if I take the population with HIV, that is the val I've calculated, divided by the largest, times the inner window, I'm going to get the screen length. So let's come back here and let's do that. Now, I'm not going to store it in val1 because I don't want to lose val1. Because if I lose it, I'm not going to be able to display it down below. So I'm going to call this val1 scaled. So again, it is the population with HIV divided by the largest times the inner window length. So val1 divided by largest times IW. And that's it. So let's do val2 and val3. So this is val2s, val3s, val2, val3. And notice in our case, val3 is the largest. So you'll see that this is going to be basically a number divided by itself, which will give us 1. And this is what will set val3 to the width of the window. So now when I actually set the width of each div, I'm going to set it to the scaled value. And if I save this and reload this, there we go. So now what this has done is it's figured out that Argentina has the largest number of the most people with HIV, and then it actually goes and sets that as the width of the screen minus 100 pixels, and then scales the other country's width accordingly. So I hope this video helped, and in the next video we're going to get into now how do we take this and apply this to all of the countries in our list. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Have a great day.